Right. Try one ended up without any audio, so here goes attempt two. I chose to speak about objectivism because politically I lean sort of towards an objectivist approach of sorts. I'm more or less a libertarian, and objectivism, while objectivists and libertarians tend to butt heads over who aligns with who, uh, they are very similar in some aspects at least. I'd probably still speak on the topic because I do care about it. It was there were some difficult parts about it. For example, I why is the camera zooming in that way? So you know, it was difficult in that it was a very complex subject, so it was hard to get it perfectly described. If I were to choose something else, I'd maybe do thunderstorms of currency, something else that I care about, because that's when I speak the best, is when I care about what I'm talking about. The most difficult part of organizing my speech was the fact that there was so much to talk about. You cannot, within that short amount of time, describe objectivism in its totality. It's going to take hours at least. It's so I was giving a brief overview. Um, my outline was solid, though. I should use a bit more specificity in the future and perhaps some little markers here and there to tell me this is one thing you need to say, this is when you need to say this, blah blah. Because I actually didn't mention one of my stats about Russian Orthodoxy. I talked about the subject of Russian Orthodoxy, but I didn't use the fact that there were 87 million, and I noticed that. My introduction was rather good. I used a hypothetical situation about the world, and I used a paintball hopper to give it a description, basically, and it was meant to just capture attention of people right from the start. And I might go more in depth with explaining just exactly what it meant, because if there are people who don't know what objectivism is or don't care about politics, they may not necessarily understand it so perfectly. I came across as very credible, I'd say, at least reasonably. I speak with a lot of confidence in my topics, and I take the time to provide reasoning. Uh, that's why I think so. And if anything were to take away from my credibility, it would be what I just mentioned, where half of the class may not even necessarily care or know much about it, and so they're just kind of taking me at my word. So, how much credibility is that really when people don't know it for themselves? Uh, Also, the fact that I disagreed with the tenet about religion and altruism could have, in some people's mind, taken away some of my credibility. I think my object was very effective. Again, the only thing I really could have done to make it much better is to go back and describe it a bit more, explain what exactly I'm trying to get across. My eye contact was pretty good for the most part. Gave myself an 8 out of 10. My confidence was excellent. Uh, I know what I think, so I'm pretty confident about that, and I think I've done a lot of speaking, so I don't really worry in the least. So 10 out of 10. My vocal variety I don't think was terribly wonderful. I usually, when I'm trying to make sure that I'm explaining each point, I don't use intonations heavily. They're subtle, they're there, but if you don't talk to me on a regular basis, you're not necessarily going to catch them. So I gave myself 7 out of 10. Because on that note, I also think even though my voice doesn't vary greatly, I believe my voice is relatively easy to listen to, as long as you care about the subject. Otherwise, if you don't care about the subject, you're gonna fall asleep one way or another. So 7 out of 10. I smiled a lot, and I believe my face seemed relatively appealing. So I gave myself a 9 out of 10 for facial features, and hand gestures gave myself 7 out of 10 because they were good overall, and I did use some very effectively, but I could have spread it out better, and made it more throughout the whole speech. My conclusion, I think, was my weak point in the speech. The thought I ended on was great, but I didn't make it clear that I was ending, so it didn't give people necessarily the ability to wrap up. I mean, I did say something to the effect of, so what does this mean to us? So that kind of my reasoning there was this is going to show them we're ending, but I perhaps to make it simpler could have said, and so to end it off. But I guess that's really that's subjective, surprise ironically enough. uh, and what are three goals I have? I'd like to have a better conclusion, perhaps a little less complex topic. And again, on the better conclusion, let me give that caveat that I guess that really does depend on just what it is you're looking for in conclusion. If you are trying to make it very obvious, I'm concluding, I need a better conclusion. I guess my problem is I like to be stylistic about it. So, anyway, a less complex topic because that'll give me more time to expound upon the topic itself. And I need to have some more detail and little symbols to tell me what to do within my outline so that I won't miss any important points and I can be sure to hit everything. And that is that. I'll see you in class.